A soldier, a cartoonist, an inspiration. What better way to describe the man who created dreams, hopes, in the happiest place on earth? Walt Disney took the big step in founding Walt Disney Productions and left his footprint on the world by creating the happiest place on earth in the cartoons we still enjoy today. Born on December 5th, 1901, and already having 3 older brothers in his family, it was hard for Walter to grow up as a normal child. In 1906, the Disneys moved to a farm in Missouri, where Disney lived a calm, idyllic, and peaceful childhood, therefore developing a strong interest in drawing. At age 16, Walter dropped out of high school. He wanted to join the Army, but was then rejected for being underage. Instead, he joined the Red Cross and was sent to France for a year to drive an ambulance. He was able to make the best of the situation by covering his ambulance in his cartoons. Later, he got a job working at the Kansas City Film Ad Company, where he made commercials based on cutout animation. While working here, Walt made a deal with a local Kansas City theater to screen his cartoons, which he called Laughograms. These cartoons quickly became very popular, and soon enough, Walt had enough money to buy his own studio. Here he did a series of 7-minute fairy tales that combined both live action and animation. Sadly, by 1923, Walt's studio had become burdened with debt, and Disney was forced to declare bankruptcy. Because of this tragedy, Walt moves to Hollywood to become a director before he was 22. Walt and his brother Roy established the Disney Brothers studio, where they get a contract for the Alice comedies. Disney's first cartoon at the studio was the first Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, Trolley Troubles. Released on September 5th, 1927, this was the start of a company. However, the rights of the cartoons still belonged to Charles Mintz, a film distributor, and he tried to bring down the Disney Company. Disney was forced to hand over the character to Mintz. In 1928, Walt's whole world changed forever. He produced a short film, Steamboat Willie, and caught the attention of an entire nation. His combination of sound and animation inspired millions after just one short film. Walt Disney's legacy continued as he grew in popularity, creativity, and individuality. In 1933, Disney's versions of Three Little Pigs was released, along with the song Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf? This song gave children and adults hope during the Great Depression and became an anthem of faith during those dark times.
Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? Big bad wolf, big bad wolf. Who's afraid of the big bad wolf?
Even though Disney had expanded his animation magic all over the nation, he truly made his footprint in the animation world when he created Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
When things go wrong. Oh, you sing a song.
This was the longest film Disney had ever made. He used Technicolor and other technologies he had never used before to produce this incredible masterpiece. It is known as one of the greatest, most creative animation films, even today. By 1938, Disney acquired a 50-acre lot to build a new studio in Burbank, California. He collaborates with Leopold Stokowski to create a movie that combines animation and classical music, Fantasia. After 2 years, Fantasia, a magical animation with famous Disney characters such as Mickey Mouse and Goofy, later became known as another famous Disney animation film. However, it was not successful at the time. In 1939, Walt wins an honorary Academy Award that is very unique. It has 1 full-sized Oscar and 7 miniatures. They represent Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Even the advanced technology and sound equipment used in both Fantasia and Pinocchio was not enough to make both of these classics a big hit in the 1940s. No more than a year later, the studio releases Dumbo, which was more successful than most of his previous films.
The whale's only flying elephant!
The United States also entered World War II around this time. Children and families used Disney's animation as a sign of peace, hope, and love. However, around this time, Walt's father Elias passes away. Later, in 1942, Walt releases Bambi, which to this day is the most naturalistic film Disney Studios has ever released. It is not successful commercially yet. Two years later, he re-releases Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It's a success! After 20 years, Walt, who has been doing Mickey's voice, reassigns the role for Fun and Fancy Free. They also released Song of the South later that year. Then 2 years later, in 1948, they released Sea Island, which kicked off the True Life Adventure series. A year later, it wins an Academy Award for the Best Two-Reel Documentary. 1950 became a big year for Disney. They released their first commercially successful full-feature film since Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Cinderella. They also released their first all-live-action movie, Treasure Island. A contract with ABC in 1954 allowed Disney to buy 244 acres of land in Anaheim, California, soon to become Disneyland. Lady and the Tramp became the first animated feature filmed in widescreen cinemascope technology. Disneyland opened the same year, and in 2 months has over 1 million visitors. In 1964, Walt releases his final film, Mary Poppins, which is later nominated for 13 Academy Awards. Land in Orlando, Florida is purchased in 1965, which would later become Disney World. He continues his legacy for a little while longer. Unfortunately, Walt becomes sick. He is sent to a hospital almost immediately. He doesn't even celebrate his 65th birthday because he is so ill. Eventually, Walt passes away on December 15, 1966 from a circulatory collapse. Walt may not be here on Earth, but he remains in our hearts. His legacy is far from perishing. His theme parks are becoming more and more popular. The channels Disney Channel, Disney XD, and Disney Junior are created in honor of Walt's life and cartoonist career. It started with Mickey Mouse and original Disney films, but then expanded to TV shows and movies created in Disney's style. As technology has advanced, Disney's cartoons, theme parks, and legacy has grown as well. He has only become more and more popular for his work, cartoons, and his beliefs that inspired not a nation, but a world. He has led the world through hardships and grief with his cartoons that are still popular today. He has left a legacy so magical that it can never be recreated. He has left a footprint so big on the world of animation that it would be impossible to fill. Unfortunately, once he passes away, the Disney company starts focusing less on making kids' dreams come true and more on the profit. Although they still use some of his general concepts, they focus more on the money and not so much on the smile. Of course, we all know that if Disney was still here in person, he would still be making kids' dreams come true. But it's not the Disney company that had a change of heart. Society has grown, and it has turned everything that used to be special into something less important than the amount of paper and metal in our wallets. When he followed his dreams, he led a country, a continent, a world. People follow his ambitions, even today, and kids dream about the wonderful ideas of Walt Disney. His ideas give both kids and adults hope when it seems that all hope is lost. We will never again be able to relive through the legacy that Disney has left us. His creativity and morals can never be created. He is a character who only stayed for a little while, made his mark on the world, and left us lost without him and his ideas. He is far from gone, though, for his dreams are already growing inside of little children's hearts that cannot be forgotten. He has left a tremendous glow so bright that it cannot be extinguished, and he will not be forgotten until the end of time.